everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to all on behalf of Pharmocracy. My name is Mehnaz Parveen, and I am an intern at Pharmocracy. This webinar is the chapter of our Educational Awareness Program, which will throw light on clinical data management. Pharmacracy is an organization that works for the pharmacist, by the pharmacists, and of the pharmacists. We believe in recognizing, identifying, and strengthening the unique capabilities of each student, promoting each student's holistic development in both academics and non-academic spheres. The supportive environment here makes it a safe space to learn life skills such as communication, teamwork, cooperation, and resilience in order to bridge the gap between the content that is covered in the curriculum and skill set required by the industry. Pharmacad came up with this initiative to create a platform where all the important qualities are covered. Without taking any more time, I would like to invite the one who is a man of distinct vision, Mr. Pranav Ganatra sir, founder of Pharmacad and Pharmocracy, to educate the audience about Pharmacad and what all we have for the young minds and budding pharmacists. I welcome you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mehnaz, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Neha Singh for giving her time on a Sunday and giving us the permission or giving us the opportunity to host her so that we can encourage and enlighten more students about clinical data management. Pharmacad, as such, is an institute which helps students for their pharmacy careers in India and abroad with respect to higher education as well as jobs. And Pharmocracy is one of our student bodies which helps students to understand the managerial skills, apply managerial skills at an early age so that they are ready for the industry. And right now we are catering to almost around students from 45 different colleges from 8 different states for their GPAT, NIPER and MBA preparations. And we also have the activity called The Agonist, which is a monthly pharma magazine for all pharmacy students. So that's about a brief of what Pharmacad is. I would again like to thank Ms. Neha Singh for her time. And I'm sure the students would be very happy to learn from her and understand clinical data management as a career as well. So thank you, Mehnaz, thank you, Neha, and thank you the entire team of Pharmocracy for having this event.
Thank you, Pranav. Thank you for this warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us all. Let me give a brief introduction about today's speaker, Ms. Neha Singh. Ms. Neha Singh is a research professional who has experience of more than 3 years in pharmaceutical industry and CRO. In clinical research, she has a diverse experience of handling operational activities, clinical data management, and quality assurance as well. Apart from clinical trials, Ms. Neha has worked in GMP quality management system of pharmaceutical industry. Currently, Ms. Neha is working as a clinical data specialist in one of the reputed pharma company. On this note, I would like to give a very warm welcome to Ms. Neha for today's event. We are indeed very eager to hear from you, ma'am. We all welcome you, ma'am. Platform is all yours.
Thank you, Mehnaz. Thank you for this welcome. I hope I can brief you something about clinical data management. And students and all, please make this session interactive because speaking only will not give you any knowledge. So as many questions as you ask, you'll get clarity on what actually the clinical data management is. Hopefully, I can give you a brief about this topic and make you understand and learn something. So yeah, okay, Mehnaz, I'm sharing my screen. Just let me know if it is visible.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah.
It is visible, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you. So basically, I'll cover the what is clinical data management. So in clinical trials, there are 2 phases, like before the approval and post approval. So clinical data management basically works before the approval of any drug. So it is basically the management of subject data which is submitted to the regulatory authorities, so that after review we can understand the adverse effects and all the effects of the drug, and post which we get a regulatory approval to market that drug. And after the approval, the picture comes of pharmacovigilance, which is basically on effects and side effects of the drug which is already marketed. So clinical data management is basically pre-marketing drug. So yeah, this is the most important thing which we go through during a clinical trial. We should be familiar with the 13 principle of ICH GCP, which covers like the trial should be conducted in the ethical principles of Declaration of Helsinki. There should be a benefit versus risk ratio, which should be in such a way that there should be more benefits rather than risk. The protection of individual rights, safety, and well-being. And there should be adequate drug data available, which includes clinical and non-clinical data on IP, which is basically the means you can say it is the clinical and non-clinical data which we collect from animal study. So post that we file the IND, and after getting an approval of IND, we go to the filing of NDA. So the gap, the phases which we get between IND and NDA, I hope you people are clear on investigational new drug submission and new drug approval process. So the phases, phase 1 and phase 2, which come, and phase 3, which is previous to NDA submission. So doing that phases, we require supportive data, which is from animal study, and that data is used to start any clinical trial. Then the trial should be scientifically sound. The trial should be conducted in accordance with a protocol which is approved by ethics committee. Then the investigator or staff which are included in the trial should be qualified, well qualified. They should be educated, experienced, and trained on all the aspects of protocol. Then the subjects which are enrolled in the trial, we should get a freely given informed consent, means there should not be any force. It should be completely, like complete information should be given to the subject and its subject's opinion if we want to continue a trial or if we want to get involved in the trial. In any time he can be like he will be assured that he can get out of the trial whenever he or she feels. So there should not be any forceful. Then the data which we are collecting should be accurate and the record should be confidential. The good manufacturing process in GCP means like the drug which we are giving to the subject should be made under good manufacturing process. So like we have good clinical practices for conducting a clinical trial, we have good manufacturing practices for the production area. For the drug which is produced in the pharmaceutical industry, there are also various guidelines. So that guidelines comes under good manufacturing processes. And then quality systems should be implemented, means there should be a quality check in each and every step of a clinical trial. So if anyone has any confusion on these principles, can please ask me on any of the principle if someone has any confusion or needs to highlight something like that. It's an open session. Please, students, please be interactive so that I can solve your doubts and also I can learn, because I'm also a learner. So just ask me.
Ma'am, we will be having a quick Q&A session later, so then we can ask about it.
Okay, yeah. Sure, Manas. Next comes the 21 CFR Part 11. So this is the most important guidance. So previously in 1990s, pharmaceutical industries forced FDA to introduce any such guidance. And then in August 1999, this guidance comes into effect. So this guidance basically includes the electronic records, electronic signatures, because all the data which we are handling are electronic. So there should be a guidance to protect those data. So electronic records includes whatever we are collecting subject data, it completely it's on web. So we need that validated web system. And electronic signatures means your login credentials. So whatever data you are handling, you are logging in your credentials you are using. So it's already almost equal to your handwritten signature. So whatever name is reflecting on any change of data or anything, then it is set. If you have logged in, if you have submitted the data, your name will be there, your time of data correction will be there. So you are solely responsible for the data. So you should always handle all your data very confidentially. Your login credentials should be changed after some time. The combination of password which you are using should be unique because it can be hacked. So these are the most important requirements while you are handling or working in a clinical trial field. Then there comes an audit trail. So if you have entered any data, whatever changes, whenever you do the changes, whosoever does the changes, and so completely everything comes in a trail. So you can just go to the audit trail and you can create a complete scenario, like what was written, then what was changed, why it was changed, what time it was changed, and how it was changed. So everything gets captured in the audit trail. So there cannot be any escape, or you cannot justify like I have not done it. So never share your login credentials, and be very vigilant when you are handling this data, because everything gets captured in this audit trail, and the regulatory authorities comes and they go by checking the audit trail. Then the digital data is 24/7 accessible. It's a real-time data. So whenever a regulatory agency wants, they can get the credentials. They have their own credentials. They can go to the picture and they can access the data whenever they require. So there should be a digital data access. Then backup and restore. And so basically what happens, if since we are working on an electronic data, so there should be a backup, because if any system collapses or there is any hacking or anything comes, so there should be a backup. There should not be like, we cannot say to the regulatory agencies like we did not have any backup system and thus we have lost the data. No, we cannot say that. So whenever we design any EDC system, we have that backup and restore thing plan previously well designed, well validated. So if there is any loss of data, we could go back and we could restore the data. Then comes the data security. Since we are handling the subject data, so it has come under the GCP principles as well. And also the security of the subject data is most important to us. There are various number of guidance available where it says the subject data should be confidential. No subject names, nothing should be revealed. So whatever we enter, whatever we have the data, that should be secured. No other or third person can go and check that data. So data security should be there. So this is all about 21 CFR Part 11. So this is the most important guidance on clinical data management. So 1 second, guys. Yeah, so CDM process, it begins like with the end in mind. Like a clinical trial, we have a end in mind that there should be this outcome. We are expecting this from that drug. In same way, from CDM also, we have an end in mind. So this means that the whole process is designed keeping the deliverable in view. Hence, the process is designed to deliver the error-free, validated, and statistically sound data. Statistically sound data means the data which will we get in the end, which will be under a tabulated form, and there will be graphs and figures which will be analyzed by the regulatory. So the data which we collect should be statistically sound. It should be well interpreted. Many softwares are available to manage this clinical data, and these softwares basically are called as clinical data management system tools. So the most commonly used are Oracle Clinical, Rave, and Inform and ClinTrial. So if you go to any multinational companies or anywhere, they'll ask if you have a well experience on Rave or Inform, because this is the most important database and most well versed databases, most secure. So Rave and Inform are considered as the best clinical data management systems. CDM has evolved with a response to ever increasing demand of pharmaceutical companies. Since there is a huge increase in this drug development, so pharmaceutical companies are increasing, and more verge of clinical data managers are increasing, because there are more trials, and thus there are more trials, then there is more subject data, and thus we need more data managers, with so that they can meet the timelines and the data could be submitted to the regulatory authorities with quality and accuracy. So the Society of Clinical Data Management is playing a role, like, which publishes the GCDMP guidance. It's a good clinical data management guidelines. So this document provides a review, or you can say a brief, about what best practices we can have and what good practices should be there. Like, there are some mandatory practices which should be used and which should be complied during a clinical data management in any of the organization, and also there are mentioned some best practices. So best practices are not mandatory, but then they are said as, if you are using those practices, your data becomes more reliable and you will get a more auditful data. So this is the overview of CDM. It includes the entry of data, verification of data, validation, and then quality control of the data which we have gathered during the conduct of a clinical trial. Clinical data management is involved in all aspects of processing the clinical data. It works with the range of computer application database system to support collection, validation, and analysis of the data, which is output of the subject analysis. So the data which we acquired then gets to the submitted to the regulatory agencies, depending of which we get the approval of a drug. So first there is a drug discovery, then preclinical studies, then clinical data management or clinical trial, you could say. Then there is a submission to FDA. And once we get approval, the drug is marketed. And after marketing of a drug, then there comes the pharmacovigilance. So what are the objectives of data management? So there is a system and database. I can go to the last slide so that you can be aware. One second. Yeah, so see, data management comes in 3 phases: setup, conduct, and closeout. So first of all, during the setup phases, there is a protocol. So protocol is a vast document which gives the path how the clinical data management will go, how the trial will be conducted, how many subjects will be enrolled, what will be the inclusion criteria, what will be the exclusion criteria. So this complete thing is written in the protocol. So once the protocol is approved, then we have the CRF designing process. So CRF designing is nothing but it's a document based on which we have like prepared and planned according to the protocol. So it will have your version number, it will have all the visits which are included in a protocol, it will have what all activities will come under one visit. Like if I'll say for screening, there will be one visit which will be of screening, and then the other subsequent visits required for protocol. So during the screening visit, we'll check the medical history, we'll check all the inclusion criteria like the ECG, the vitals, the physical measurement, what all things which we require as per the protocol. We'll check all those things, and all those things will be entered under the CRF. So we'll prepare this document which is called as a CRF, and this is called as a CRF. Like CRF is a complete document where we'll have all the minute and minor details which are required as per protocol of a subject. Then comes the annotated CRF. Annotated CRF is nothing like in a CRF, if it is written as date of visit, so computer can't read that date of visit complete sentence. So we'll map all these sentences to a code. Like date of visit will be coded as DOV, and that codes comes under annotated CRF. So annotated CRF is nothing but the mapped document of CRF, which will have the short forms of codings of whatever fields which are specified under the CRF, that will come under the annotated CRF. Then comes the database design. Okay, so CRF will be a document which will have what all visits, what all things will be required. Now those visits and everything will be interpreted on the database, which is called as electronic data capture. I have told you previously also, clinical data management system tools like Inform or RAVE. So under the RAVE, we'll have an electronic CRF design, which is called as a database design. So it will be an electronic web view where you'll enter the data on the web directly itself. Then there comes the edit check implementation. On all the fields, we have various edit checks. So what are those edit checks? Like, those are implemented by programmers, and we data managers give them the like logics which should be there. Like, if my protocol says that I want a subject whose age should be 20 to 40, not more than 40, not less than 20. So it's a very simple check. So we give the logic to the programmer, and programmer will use all the available programming languages and will create a code where in the database, like if the subject enters, means the site person recruits a subjects and enter the age of him as 19, then it will fire a query. Okay, this as per protocol, it is out of the range. So after firing that query, we'll review the data, and then the subject will not be enrolled, it will be excluded. So we only want a subject of 20 to 40, so only those subjects will get enrolled in the study. Sometimes what happens, like if a subject is of 24 age, but by mistake site answers as 42, so it is going out of range. So we'll raise a query like, kindly confirm if the age is recorded appropriately or not. And if the site answers as data updated and it was checked from source and gets updated it to 24, it will go back to the range and we can close the query, and thus we can validate the data. So these edit check implementation is those only, like we will implement some logic checks which are required as per protocol. And test data entry, this is done, like we'll check all the good data and bad data, which I told you is the means like live scenario. But we'll assume, like if site enters 19, then is there a query firing or not? If site is entering as 24, is there a query firing or not? So these all test cases we'll write and we'll enter and we'll check the database. So this is called validation and quality check. Like whatever edit checks we have implemented in the system, are those working appropriately or not? And once everything's are checked, verified, and there will be a quality check, post that database will become live. Live database means now the site personnel can go and enter the live data which they are getting from the subject. Before this database live, this is all under testing. We'll do the testing of everything, and once it is confirmed, okay, everything is as per protocol and everything is correct, then we'll go the database live. There is a timeline. So after that, then the study goes into conduct phase, means like the study is live. Now the subject is receiving the drug. So what happens? The site activation means there for conducting any clinical trial, we need some investigator sites. So the first site where the subject comes, the first subject is enrolled, that is called as site activation, which will be the first one. So once the first site gets activated, then first patient is recruited. Post that, data entry starts for the subject which is getting enrolled. Then the data entry will start and data validation and discrepancy will start. This is nothing but the entry of data and getting the discrepancies, like if any data point falls out of the edit check implementation, or if we like get to know any during any manual review that this data is not correct, we'll raise a query to the site. So this is called as database validation. Then the loading of CRF and external data. Now this external data means the vendor data. Lab, all the labs which is done, those are collected from the outside. Now the subject can go to any of the local labs which is present near the investigator site where he's involved in the clinical trial. He can do his lab test, and that lab test will then be from the backend will be loaded into the database. It will not directly reflect in the CRF. The picture you are getting in the front view, it will not be there. So whatever the hemoglobin or whatever parameters of a subjects are there, that will be in backend, and that will be directly coming to the statistical output. So it is little tough to understand in this starting page. So you can just say like external data will get loaded on the backend. All the lab data or imaging data or any of the external ECG data that all will not get reflected on the front view of your EDC. Then comes the SA and vendor reconciliation part. So it's safety reconciliation means if any serious adverse effect is there or any adverse effect is there. So one A will be recorded on the CRF and that same will be recorded on the safety database. Safety database is nothing but the pharmacovigilance database they are having. So that is the safety database. So the SAs, adverse events present in the clinical database should be present in the safety database. Like if we are having, if any subject during the core of a clinical trial gets hospitalized for any of the A, you say if he gets means if he is a cancer subject and the cancer progresses and if his arm or something gets amputated or he gets hospitalized or there is some permanent disability, so it will considered as a SAE. Same SAE should be recorded in the safety database from with PV department. So the PV department will send monthly listing to CDM team, and then there will be a reconciliation. Both the databases, like whatever SAE present in the clinical data management, should match completely with the same output with the PV database. So it's nothing but the reconciliation. Like we have to reconcile the safety profile and the CDM profile. Then comes the closeout phase. Once the complete clinical trial is done, and then there is LSLV, means last subject, last visit. As per protocol, there should be 5 visits. So all the 5 visits are completed and total 52 subjects should be enrolled. And there is a last 52 subjects, last visit is completed, then it will be the complete database. So it will come as a closeout. Then during a closeout activity, we should check that all the data review should be completed. There not should be any discrepancy. There should not be any open issues. Quality should be checked. Audit of the data should be performed. Whatever issues were identified during a quality check should be addressed. Then after completing all the data, reconciliation, everything should be completed. Then the data managers will request for database lock, means we'll freeze this data. And then we'll raise the request to the programmer. Programmer will notify the biostatistician team. And then after taking a snapshot, this database will be locked. Locked in the sense, we'll freeze this data. Now nothing can be changed. And this data will start extracting into the data set, or you can say in a tabular form. Like we'll have a Excel sheet where we'll have some annotations, and post that we'll have some data for the SDTM model. And that SDTM model then will be used for the preparation of clinical study report, CSR. This is the main output of any CDM activity. So once we'll have this clinical study report generated, after all this activity, this report will be submitted to the regulatory. We'll not submit it any this of the data because it is in a haphazard manner. And in the CSR, we'll have all the data in tabulated form with visits. So this will be submitted to the regulatory authority. And after that, we'll get the review points from them. And after good luck, we'll have a approval, or if there are any quality issues, we have to address them, or we can also have the failure of that trial. So it is really very important to work on each and everything, because there has been very much scenarios like the data was good, but in the audit trail, it was saying like there was a data manipulation. First, the site has entered as 24, then 42, then and again, they went back and changed to 24. So these are the issues which we catch from audit trail, and the regulatory denies for the approval. And there is a huge cost involved in this approval process. So discrepancy management, it is the same which I told, like data point that fails to pass any validation check and which should be corrected as per, which needs to be corrected as per the protocol. There is a variation between what actual response should be and what we get the response. Then it may be due to the errors, may be due to inconsistent data. Means like for visit 1, they have entered something else, and then for visit 2, they are entering something else for the same scenario. Then there is a missing data. Like they have forgotten to enter some value, or they have forgotten to enter data for any data field. There will be the range checks, like for vitals, if it is saying like the range should be 80 to 120, but the site is entering as 122 or 79, then there will fire the range checks. Then there will be a deviation from the protocol, like any deviation which includes the inclusion or exclusion criteria. If in an exclusion criteria it is saying like if a subject has a history of hypertension, then the subject should not be enrolled in the study. But from medical history it is saying like the subject was there, he or she was having hypertension, then also it is enrolled in the study or it is screened under the study, then this deviation check will fire, and the site has to file a protocol deviation which needs to be which needs to be notified to the regulatory authorities. Then this discrepancy management helps in cleaning of the data, gathers enough evidence for the deviation which is observed in the data. All CDMS have a discrepancy database where all discrepancies will be recorded and stored in the audit trail. This sentence means nothing but that only like all the tools which we are using, either Rave or Inform, will have an audit trail where everything, each and every step will be captured under the audit trail. So this is like discrepancy management. Data capture models. So previously we were using paper CRF, then we come to this electronic CRF, and in today's scenario where we are working remotely and due to pandemic, we are also using this remote data capture system. So in paper CRF, the site used to enter the details on CRF, and associate then used to enter this into the database, and there will not be any real-time access to this data. This means like if the screening was performed 2 months back, then the site is entering the data and completing all the data today. So there will be no real-time access to the data because a 2-month previous data is entered today. So there are lot of errors. So industries do not prefer this because there is always a delay, there are errors, and it is a huge time taking process. While in electronic CRF, what is the thing? In an investigator or the clinical research coordinator directly enters the data into the database. If the screening is planned for today, then if a subject comes, whatever data he's or she is giving will be directly entered to the database, and we can go back to that data anytime we want. So there will not be any delay. There will be a lower chances of error. More accurate data will be there, and thus improved documentation, because in paper CRF we couldn't go and we can miss any of the CRF, then we'll have a missing data for that. But if we are entering the data on time, we'll not have any missed data. Then in the remote, it is the very less used data capture model. Only some sites use, because if we are having a multi-center study, like from India, if we are handling lot many countries, in all the countries there will be hundreds of sites, so it is not possible to go to each and every site. So this RDC system allows research staff to enter data directly to the medical setting using a multi-standard with the many institution. Like they will contact any institution person and they'll tell them they will enter the data. So it also involves, there will be a lot of error because of communication. If one tells to the other to enter the data, there will be error. So we are only using this electronic CRF model. Paper we are not using, and this RDC, it is very, very rarely used. What are stakeholders involved in the data management? So there will be site and investigator person, that will be like whatever site or whatever facility we are selecting. So the site personals, the PI, which will look into the subject, that will be the investigator. Then the study team and client. Like if you are working for any clinical research organization, so CRO will be having lot number of clients, which are pharma or KPOs or anything. So I have worked for Pfizer also. So like Pfizer is my client. So I'll give all the data to the Pfizer. Then the other comes the monitor and CRS, clinical research associate. They'll go, they'll visit the facility, they'll check like whatever site entering the data, is it correct? They'll verify with the source document, like site is entering lab data. Suppose they are entering the lab data for visit 1. So monitor will go, he'll actually check what lab data is, means what are the lab report of a subject. If a subject is saying in lab report hemoglobin is marked as 9, but the site personnel has entered 10 in the database, so he'll give the query to the site personnel and the site will be retrieved. So this way the monitor goes and checks for the database with the source data. Then comes the programmers. Programmers are nothing but the team which will implement the edit checks, which will extract the data in data sets. Then the quality team is involved. Quality team is doing the quality check on each and every phase of the CDM, and they are giving their output, their error rate. Then the data acquisition or vendors. Data acquisition or vendors are the external data which is involved in it, lab data, imaging data, ECG data, then PK, like biosamples. So whatever data which we are collecting from third organization, those comes under the vendor data. Then the safety team. Safety team is nothing but the PV team. Whatever AEs we are getting, that all should be collected in the database. Then the terms which are present, which we have recorded in the database, should be coded, because the computer system doesn't understand all. So to give the consistency across all the sites and across all the world, we code the term which is coded under using various dictionary. If we are coding A, we'll use a different dictionary which is called as MEDRA. MEDRA, we are also having various other, but MEDRA is the most commonly used and means like used dictionary. And for the drugs, like whatever, if phenylephrine, adrenaline, everything, whatever drugs we are recording in the database, that are also coded, that are used coded using different dictionary, that are WHODD, DNF, and there are multi more. So WHODD is most used for coding drugs, and for coding AE, MEDRA is used. Then so the importance of CDM is it will provide a consistent, accurate, and validate data. There will be a real-time tracking, secure data exchange. The data will be statistically sound. It will be compliant with all the regulatory guidelines, and it will protect public health and gives the confidence in marketed therapeutics. So the objective of CDM is the database should be validated, the data collection mode, the data integration, and the data validation using the edit check and manual review. So this is all about the brief of data management. So once the protocol is designed, we design the CRF, then CRF. After that, meta designs means the annotations, then the database, which will look into the computer. CRF is designed on the paper, and then it will go to the system, and the output which we are getting in the system, it is the database design. Then there will be data entry. No, sorry, database will be designed, and then testing will be done, which is called as database validation. Then there will be the entry of data of subject data, that is called as data collection. Then there will come as a data cleaning, where we'll get the queries, we'll raise query, we'll reconcile, and we'll have the issues addressed. And then there will be data set logged, which will be extracted in the statistically SDTM model, which will be for use for statistical analysis. And then we'll create the report, which is clinical study report, and in the end it will be submitted to the regulatory authority. So this is all about data management. Actually, it's a very vast topic. I hope whatever shortness I can do, I have completed and covered everything in a very nutshell. So I hope I am clear to you guys. So thank you, and the session is open for your questions.
Thank you, ma'am, for pouring your enlightening words. Now let us begin with the Q&A session. Our participants have posted some questions. Let's take them one by one.
Yeah, sure.
Shubham, you can just show the slides with those questions. It's not visible, I guess.
Yeah, for me also it's not visible.
Uh, I think, ma'am, meanwhile we are taking up the question, you can stop sharing the screen so
Yeah,
that we can have a
actually,
clear look of those questions.
yeah, actually I'm trying to, but I don't know my video is stuck to what. I'm not able to stop my share screen. I think I'm stuck somewhere. Second.
Uh, okay, ma'am, I'll see. Shubham, am I audible? Are you there? Okay, ma'am, now your screen is not visible. Now we can take up the questions.
Yeah, sure.
Shubham, your slides are not visible.
Your voice is not clear, Shubham. I don't know if there is a network issue with my end. Can anyone confirm if he or she can hear you correctly?
No, ma'am, his voice is not audible.
Yeah,
There's a glitch, I guess.
yes.
Shubham, you can reconnect if there is some network issue. Okay, so let's take the first question. The question is, how can one fetch internships in CDM in their bachelor's final year to get hands-on experience?
Okay, so for clinical trials, we don't get internship on these things. We have to have a experience or internship in the production field only. and then we can go to this clinical trial field. We cannot directly go for internship in CDM or PV. We cannot go. And one thing I also wanted to highlight, like people go and do those like diploma courses or all the courses which are given on the LinkedIn, or like they are saying like we'll give you 100% placement, you should do this course or anything. So frankly, it is not required at all. You just go learn things, get a job in like clinical trial field. You'll get a job by having this bookish knowledge only. Just read about the clinical trial, just have a knowledge. You don't not at all require any of those courses and spending that much money, because it is really not worth it. It's better to do a degree rather than doing that courses. I personally feel that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Hope the question is answered. Now we can have another question.
Which tool or program in
Okay,
languages should
next
master?
question is, which tools or programming languages should I master before entering the field? Thank you,
SAS.
such enriching session. Okay,
Yeah,
yes, ma'am,
SAS
over to
and
you.
SQL, SAS and SQL language. Yes, you can definitely do this course. SAS language is very much important for CDM, and if you learn SAS language, you can easily go to this clinical data management field. So you should go and do a course for SAS language. Learning SAS and getting certified SAS language, you'll have a very good future in CDM. That will be a programming language for CDM.
Okay, ma'am. So can we have the next question? Are there any certification courses or mini diploma for CDM, and what is the pay scale for pharma graduates? I think
See,
she covered a bit of it.
yes.
Okay, we
So
can have.
no need to do any of the diploma courses. Just focus on your degree. Just focus whatever learn in your graduation and post graduation. If you do, then it is much enough. You just go and read. You just read, learn. Because in the interview for a fresher, the only questions will be the basic of clinical trial. What are the phases? How the process goes? How there is an approval? And the simple definitive terms. Nothing diploma courses will be needed. And pay scale, it is really good. If you have a skills, you'll grow very quickly in this fields in clinical trial. I am only having 3 years and I'm earning a well amount. So it's very quick and very frequent in this field.
Okay, moving on to the next question. What are the career prospects of CDM for pharma graduates? How one should be prepared for the job of CDM?
Okay,
Questions are
so
similar, I guess.
yes, these are the similar question. If you want, I can share my slides also. These are the basic descriptive slides which is asked in any freshers interview. You'll have to have this much knowledge. You have to have the guidance knowledge, ICH, E6, and safety guidance, because once we are dealing with clinical trial, we should be thorough on the ICH and efficacy and safety principles. And for quality, there are 2 3 guidance which are used, not all, because it is basically for the manufacturing department. But yes, Q10, Q9, these are required for the clinical trials as well. So having a hands-on those guidance and having a basic knowledge on this EDM or PV, whatever field you want to choose, you can go. Nothing extra is required. Just have the thorough knowledge, just have the bookish knowledge.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So the gist is we just need to be thorough with our own degree and
Yes,
bookish
yes,
language.
yes.
So moving on to the next question. Does pharmacovigilance manage some parts of CDM?
Only the safety reconciliation process. Like, it is not like it manages, it is a parallel move. Like safety team collects their own SAE, they will also be in contact with the subject. They'll collect the safety, means whatever events, whatever adverse effect the subject has faced, and the site personnel will add the uh, same events in the database. So the both the things will run parallelly, but both are independent. Both will not know that the subject is facing this thing. So they'll record independently, and then at a point we'll reconcile. Okay, both the teams are doing correctly or not. Because sometimes it happens the safety team has seen that event, but it is not recorded in CDM. Means it is missed by the site, or the site has recorded, but the safety team is unaware. So it is missed by the safety team. So it is independently doing, but not at all managing or involved together.
Okay, can we have the next question? How can a fresher learn the Rave and Inform database?
No, you cannot learn, because it is very costly software, and you will get to learn only when you enter the organization. So you cannot learn. But yeah, you can see the short videos on YouTube. Definitely there are various videos on YouTube available, where you can see how the Rave looks, what is Rave or what all is Inform. You can go and check the database. As I told, CRF is a document which is prepared from the protocol, and the database is the view page of the EDC system, like with what you will look on the laptop or any computer or any electronic device. How it will look, the front view is the Rave or Inform. So you can definitely go to any of the YouTube channel or any of the YouTube video to have a look how the database looks exactly. What is the difference between the CRF and database? You can have that.
Okay. Can we have the next question? Okay. How subjects are selected for clinical trials? How audit trails are conducted?
Okay, so we have inclusion and exclusion criteria written descriptively in the protocol. It is like the ECG of the subject should be this, the weight should be this, the subject should not have this medical history, the subject should have this illness, the subject. So all the parameters which we require for our protocol, it is descriptively written in the protocol. So based on that only, we'll select the subject. Like if we are having 5 subjects in line to enroll in the study, so we'll check for all the 5, like are the vitals which we require are in that range, are the subject eligible. So completely looking onto the inclusion and exclusion criteria specified in the protocol, we'll select the subject. Now the audit trails. So audit trail, as I told, it is part of 21 CFR part 11. So it is inbuilt in the system only. Rave, Inform, any of the clinical data management system, they have this feature. Like it is like if we are means if you are using a WhatsApp, okay, so when you are sending a message, then you are deleting the message, so that deleted message comes in your chat box. So it is like that only. It is the inbuilt feature of any data management system. Once you change, it gets recorded in that, and there will be some like icons are there. Clicking on that icon will give you the complete trace of that. Like previously it was entered at this time and the name. So in audit trail, the data, time, and the person who has changed the data will come step by step. Howsoever you will change now or you will modify the data, it will be getting captured on that trail. So that is called as the audit trail. It is the feature of the system only. It is not built or conducted. It is the feature.
Okay, ma'am. Can we have the next question? How are CDM jobs going to be affected by data scientists and analysts?
Okay, so even if we go by artificial intelligence or data sciences, basically the person will get completely involved in AI or machine learning. So there are some checks, there are some logics in which we need a manual review. We need a person that cannot be built by the system. If we need to validate 2 things, like I'll tell you, means if there is a cross check between concomitant medication and adverse effect. So concomitant medication is after when you give a drug to the subject. Now after giving the drug to the subject, any of the things you give, any of the medicines you give, it will be recorded into the CRF. So once you give a medication, see if you give paracetamol, and there are multiple AEs also. So we have to check, like if paracetamol is given for any AE which is recorded, or it is given prophylactic or whatsoever reason. So for that, this way of review, we need data managers in a person, which means we need a person. We cannot program it. We cannot go and implement any check for these logics. So definitely it will not going to affect the jobs. But yes, the things will get more automated. You will have to learn more languages, more automation. There will be more softwares involved. But yeah, the jobs will not get affected, because for some review we need a manual review. We need a person that cannot be built by a check.
Okay, hope the question is answered well. Can we move on to the next question? Yeah. How to learn SAS and other programming things?
There are different courses available, and after going through that courses, completing that course, you will have to give an exam that is called SAS certification exam, and passing that exam you'll get a SAS certified, means you'll become a SAS certified programmer, which will be used in the CDM industry. So there are institutions which makes you and gives you the SAS learning courses. So you can definitely go for them, but don't go for CDM or PV programs. Go for SAS learning.
Can we have the next question, please? If any. I heard this monotonous job. This is a monotonous job. Just sit at one chair and do clerical work, which can be done by 12 past students if guided by some people. Is it true?
See, for any of the work, either you go for PV, either you go for quality, any of the work, if you make to learn, or if you guide a BCom person or 10th or 12th class student, he will definitely going to do that. But that will be machine. If you trick that question, if you have one scenario which is completely understood by a pharmacy graduate, if you have any A, like a simple thing, like we are saying the subject, we are telling the data managers, like if there is an A and it is marked as medication given, and the medication for the same date and same A event is recorded on the commit the page, we'll close the query. Simple. But if you are a pharmacy person and the adverse event is stated as generalized weakness, and the medication which is recorded on the commit page is an antibiotic, you'll use your thinking and you'll say, okay, antibiotic can never be given for the generalized weakness. So there you will raise a query. So this way, logical thinkings will only come by experience and by learning. So definitely for any of the job, if you are going to do a 9 to 5 job, you'll at a some point you will feel that it is a monotonous. But if you keep on learning, if you keep on grabbing knowledges, reading guidance, you'll never get bored. So both the scenarios are correct. So if you think your job is monotonous, go learn, use your logics. You'll never get bored. You will never feel like it is a monotonous. It's a wide learning field. Even after getting 3 years of experience, I think I've only understood 20% of CDM.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Can we move on to the next question? Okay, the questions are over now.
Okay.
With this, we are now approaching the end of the program. As promised, we will provide all the students with a graded certificate according to your performance in this short assessment test. All of you are requested to take a screenshot of this particular page and save it with yourself. These are the steps you have to follow for assessing the quiz. Top 30% scorers of this quiz will receive a discount of 20% on any one of the Pharmacad courses, which can be availed on the app itself. Make sure you complete this before the time limit to make your place in the top 30%. Now, on the behalf of the whole team of Pharmocracy, would extend my most sincere thanks to our guest of the event, Ms. Neha Singh, and all the dignitaries who have been a part. Thank you for sparing your time this weekend. I would also extend my heartiest gratitude towards Pranav sir for helping us with this event. I would also extend my acknowledgement towards all the participants for their utmost patience and presence. And with this, here we come to the end of this program. Thank you everyone for being so patient and gracing this occasion by your presence. You'll be receiving a feedback form just after the meeting ends. We would love to hear from you and improve ourselves in future events. Thank you so much and have a good day ahead.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you all the people here for your patience hearing it.
Thank you, Neha, ma'am.